Ancient inscriptions of the pharaohs in the Nile. Underwater archaeologists at the bottom of the murky waters of the Nile in Egypt explored rock formations covered with algae. At first glance, the stones seemed unremarkable, but upon closer inspection, scientists discovered several inscriptions related to ancient pharaohs. A joint team of Egyptian and French archaeologists decided to explore the ruins of the reservoir in Aswan. Under a layer of algae, they found several carvings that are at least 2,300 years old. The images range from drawings of ancient Egyptian pharaohs to hieroglyphs. In the photo, you can see several well-preserved carved figures. The shapes are blurred by water and are quite difficult to distinguish. One set of inscriptions looks like a row of mannequin heads above two objects resembling tombstones. These ancient inscriptions are still being studied. Archaeologists believe that these findings may help us better understand how ancient kings ruled in those distant times. The agonizing death of the screaming woman. In 1935, near Luxor, Egypt, a mysterious mummy was found, which was named the Screaming Woman because of her terrifying facial expression, with her mouth open. Scientists are sure that the woman may have died from terrible pain, which led to a cadaveric spasm that fixed her face in a scream. The mummy was discovered by an archaeological expedition from the Metropolitan Museum of New York in the tomb of Senmut, the chief architect of Queen Hatshepsut. A burial chamber for his mother and other relatives was also found in this tomb. Despite the rich burial, the identity of the screaming woman and the reasons for her expression remained a mystery for almost 100 years. Archaeologists conducted a detailed study of the mummy using CT scanning and infrared imaging. The virtual autopsy showed that the woman was about 48 years old. She was about 150 centimeters tall and suffered from mild arthritis. Surprisingly, her internal organs, such as the brain, heart, and lungs, were intact, which did not match the usual mummification practices of the New Kingdom era. Her burial included a black wig made from date palm fibers treated with minerals and 2 rings with jasper scarabs, indicating her high social status. Dr. Salem suggested that her facial expression might have been the result of cadaveric spasm, a rare condition in which muscles that were actively used before death become fixed, indicating possible suffering or severe stress. The embalmers mummified her body before it began to decompose and relax, preserving her mouth in an open position. The Great Pyramid at the Mayan site of San Andres was built in response to the eruption of the Tierra Blanca Joven volcano in the Lago Ilopango caldera. San Andres, located in the Zapotitan Valley in the La Libertad department of El Salvador, was founded around 900 BC as an agricultural settlement and became the capital of a Mayan state between 600 and 900 AD. The eruption of the Tierra Blanca Joven volcano, which occurred around 539 AD, was one of the largest volcanic events in history, ejecting about 43.7 cubic kilometers of volcanic material. It caused significant climate changes and devastated an area with a radius of up to 100 kilometers. Dr. Akira Achikawa from the University of Colorado Boulder noted that due to the scale of the disaster, many settlements were abandoned and it took a long time for them to recover. However, research in San Andres, just 40 kilometers from Lago Ilopango, showed that construction began a few years after the eruption. The construction of the La Campana Pyramid began just 530 years after the eruption, and its completion took about 80 years. The pyramid, standing 7 meters tall and with a volume of 23,000 cubic meters, became the largest structure in the valley. Dr. Achikawa suggests that the pyramid was built using volcanic ash as a material and had religious significance related to the veneration of volcanoes in order to protect against future eruptions. A message to extraterrestrials. The golden record attached to the Voyager spacecraft is a unique message from humanity to another civilization. Launched in 1977, the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft became not only important tools for exploring the solar system, but also symbols of humanity's desire to make contact with intelligent life beyond Earth. The record contains greetings in 55 languages, including ancient ones, music by great composers, sounds of nature, the noise of wind, the splash of waves, bird song, and even the beating of a human heart. It also contains 100 images depicting everyday human life, animals, architecture, and scientific achievements. To help extraterrestrials decipher the contents, instructions, and diagrams showing Earth's location relative to pulsars in our galaxy are engraved on the cover of the disk. This record is a kind of cosmic ambassador addressed not only to potential extraterrestrial observers, but also to future generations of Earth. It serves as a reminder that humanity is a single entity, capable of coming together to represent its culture, history, and planet. The message from Voyager is humanity's first conscious step in attempting to establish contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. A miniature marvel. This tiny almanac with an embroidered cover created in France around 1780 is a true masterpiece of 18th century decorative art. Its dimensions, just 3 by 7 centimeters, make it not only a work of art, but also an intriguing collector's item. Such miniatures were popular among the French aristocracy and served both practical and aesthetic purposes. The cover is made of embroidered fabric, decorated with an artistic floral pattern, which symbolized not only the taste of the era, but also the high level of skill of the embroiderers of that time. The red and blue decorative elements on the edges give the item additional elegance. Such almanacs were often used as gifts accompanied by personal inscriptions or poems, adding even more personal value to the item. Its small size suggests that it was intended to be carried in pockets or reticules, which allowed the owner. It may have contained brief notes, calendars, or even love messages, making it a witness to the intimate moments of life in those years. Baby tooth. Archaeologists from Novosibirsk made an important discovery at the Obishir site in the foothills of the Pamir Alai in Kyrgyzstan. They discovered about 5,000 ancient artifacts, including stone tools, ornaments, and a modern human tooth. Canadian anthropologist Ben Saviolo from the University of Toronto confirmed that this tooth belongs to Homo sapiens. Archaeologists compared the findings with earlier complexes in Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan that were studied back in Soviet times. These complexes, located in the mountains of the Tian Shan and Pamir, showed a striking similarity in the types and methods of stone tool processing. Before this discovery, it was believed that humans did not live in Central Asia between 20 and 10,000 years ago due to harsh climatic conditions. The Homo sapiens tooth found, dating back to the Mesolithic, became the first find of its kind in the region. Rock crystal dagger. In the megalithic tomb of Montelirio Tholos, located in southwestern Spain, archaeologists discovered a unique artifact, a dagger made of rock crystal, dating to around 3000 BC. This 22-centimeter dagger has been preserved almost completely, including the handle and sheath, which are made of ivory. Found in a separate chamber of the tomb, the dagger clearly held special significance for the burial. Scientists suggest that this dagger was used for ritual purposes, since rock crystal was considered a symbol of purity and a connection to the spirit world in ancient times. Working with crystal required great skill, as it is a hard and brittle material, so such an item was extremely valuable. It is possible that the dagger served as a symbol of the owner's high status and was used in rituals related to the worship of ancestors or gods. The first accurate image of the moon. The early 17th century became an era of great discoveries in astronomy thanks to the invention of the telescope. The moon, which had previously been considered a smooth celestial body, appeared before scientists in a completely new light. In 1609, Galileo Galilei used a telescope for the first time to study the moon, discovering numerous craters, mountains, and valleys on its surface. His observations became a true revolution in the perception of celestial bodies. Galileo recorded his discoveries in a series of detailed drawings that depicted the real topography of the moon for the first time. These images were included in his work Starry Messenger, published in 1610. Thanks to these sketches, it became clear that the surface of the moon is much more complex than ancient philosophers had assumed, and consists of irregularities resembling mountains on Earth. Interestingly, Galileo was not the first to point a telescope at the moon. Thomas Harriot, an English astronomer, began his observations of the moon back in 1609, but his drawings were less detailed and not as widely known. It was Galileo who had a key influence on the development of astronomy. The discovery of the moon as an uneven and dynamic object inspired many generations of researchers. Some ufologists believe that Galileo's drawings might have been the first images of anomalies on the surface of the moon. This interest continues today, giving rise to numerous theories about the possible extraterrestrial origin of some lunar features. Ice Age art, mammoth from the Alp-Donau region, Germany. It is one of the oldest examples of Ice Age art, dating back about 35,000 years. This miniature figurine is carved from mammoth ivory, which in itself is a testament to the skill and artistic sense of prehistoric people. Discovered in the 1930s, the artifact became an important link in the study of early human art. The uniqueness of this piece lies not only in its age, but also in its detail. Incisions can be seen on the surface of the figurine, possibly symbolic or decorative, which adds an air of mystery to the artifact. They may be early examples of communication or spiritual beliefs of ancient people. Archaeologists suggest that such figurines may have been used for ritual purposes, serving as hunters' talismans or symbols of luck. The mammoth, symbolizing strength and endurance, likely played an important role in the worldview of primitive tribes. Ancient city in the oasis. Archaeologists have discovered the ruins of an ancient city over 4,000 years old in the Khaybar oasis in northwestern Saudi Arabia. This city, named Al-Nata, was founded around 2400 BC and consisted of about 50 houses designed for a population of about 500 people. The city was surrounded by a massive wall 14.5 kilometers long, which likely protected its inhabitants from raids and the harsh climate. Interestingly, Al-Nata was preserved thanks to a layer of basalt that protected the ruins from destruction. The discovery became possible thanks to observations from the air. From the air, the structure of the city walls and buildings, hidden underground, could be seen. Al-Nata became an important testament to the transition of the region's inhabitants from a nomadic to a settled way of life. Early scholars believed that at that time this area was just a desert, unfit for habitation. However, the findings in the necropolis, including metal axes, daggers, and agate items, indicate a high level of craftsmanship and technological development. The stained glass windows in old churches captivate the imagination with their intricate depictions of biblical scenes and vivid colors. However, behind the creation of these works of art lies an interesting and rather unpleasant secret. To achieve the desired shades and strength of the glass, craftsmen added an unusual ingredient to the mixture: urine and sometimes even human blood. During the manufacturing process, metal oxides were mixed with urine, which helped improve the adhesion of the coloring substance to the glass during firing. This method gave stained glass a special brightness and durability. Thus, in the creation of these beautiful windows, which are hundreds of years old, not only the skilled hands of craftsmen were involved, but also some rather unexpected materials. Stained glass is not only a symbol of spiritual light and beauty, but also proof that art sometimes requires unconventional approaches and secret ingredients. About 2,000 years ago, a Roman ship sank in the Mediterranean Sea with a valuable cargo, among which were massive lead ingots. The heaviest of them weighs 68 kilograms, which is about 205 Roman pounds, according to the University of Alicante. The marking on the ingot indicates that it belonged to a Roman emperor, possibly Nero. In addition, there were about 3,000 jars of fish sauce on board the ship. This sauce, known as garum, was popular in Roman cuisine and widely used as a seasoning. The ship was about 32 meters long, and at the time of sinking, it was probably traveling from Cadiz to Rome. The ship was not only carrying valuable metals, but also food products important for the Roman diet. The study of the sunken ship provides a unique opportunity to explore the shipbuilding technologies and trading methods of the ancient Romans. Archaeologists from the University of Bologna have discovered a new amazing tomb in the Corinaldo necropolis, Ancona province, Italy. The archaeologists' excavations revealed a rectangular tomb in the center of a large circular pit. The tomb, measuring 3.8 by 2 meters, contained more than 150 decorated artifacts, including a two-wheeled chariot, a bronze helmet, cauldrons, and beautifully decorated vessels. These items indicate the presence of a funerary feast, which suggests the high status of the buried individual. The burial is dated to the 7th century BC. The burial dates back to the 7th century BC and is associated with the Piscines, an ancient Italian people who lived along the Adriatic coast from the 9th to the 3rd century BC. The Piscines were known for their trade connections with neighboring cultures, including the Etruscans, as evidenced by the Etruscan artifacts found. Recent discoveries include a large circular ditch with a diameter of 30 meters and a rectangular tomb. Among the artifacts are spits, an iron meat axe, and various ceramic serving vessels, indicating a funerary feast. This emphasizes the high social status of the buried individual. Mayor Carinaldo Gianni Aloisi stated that the city can now be called the Land of Princes, confirming the historical and cultural value of the Nivola archaeological area. Human blood on an ancient mask. The golden mask of a Sican sculpture found on the northern coast of Peru contains traces of human blood. The Sican culture existed from 750 to 1375 AD, is known for its luxurious gold artifacts, including funerary masks, that were made during the Middle Sican period and often accompanied the elite in their tombs. In the 1990s, archaeologists excavated the tomb of one of these elite individuals. Inside, they discovered a skeleton sitting upside down, painted bright red with cinnabar, with a gold mask covering the separated skull. Around the skeleton were two young women's skeletons, posed as if giving birth and assisting, along with two children's skeletons. The researchers analyzed the paint on the mask and identified 6 human blood proteins, including serum albumin and immunoglobulin G. They also found proteins from egg white, presumably from a musk duck. The researchers believed that the presence of blood symbolized life force and could have been connected to the idea of the deceased's rebirth. Coffin on the roof. For centuries, human bodies have served as objects of anatomical study, and executed criminals were often the main source. However, as the number of death sentences decreased in the 18th and 19th centuries, medical schools began to suffer from a shortage of bodies for research. This problem gave rise to resurrectionists, people who dug up freshly buried corpses to sell to anatomists. To protect against such thefts, cages and traps were installed in cemeteries, and guards were hired. Some bodies were even left in mortuaries so that decomposition would make them useless to robbers. But the Englishman Henry Trick found his own extremely unusual way. Henry lived in the 18th century in Stevenage, was a wealthy grocer, and was respected in society. However, one day, he witnessed grave robbers digging up a body in the cemetery. This shocked him so much that he decided not to let such a thing happen to him. In his will, Henry asked for his body to be placed in a lead coffin and set under the rafters of his own barn, far from the cemetery. He even provided a punishment for his relatives if his last will was violated. After his death in 1722, his body was indeed placed in the barn, which attracted a lot of curious visitors. Over time, the barn became a tavern, and Henry's coffin became a local attraction. However, his remains met a sad fate. Visitors and soldiers took them as souvenirs, and by the beginning of the 20th century, only a small part of the skeleton remained. Today, Henry's coffin still rests in the barn, but the remains are lost, leaving behind only legends about his ghost. Remains of people with enormous heads. Scientists from the University of Honolulu and the Chinese Academy of Sciences made a unique discovery, finding the remains of a previously unknown species of ancient humans, Homo juliensis. This species is believed to have gone extinct about 200,000 years ago. At the Zhujiao site, archaeologists found 16 skeletons, stone tools, and animal remains. A distinctive feature of the new species is their massive skulls, with a volume of 1,600 to 1,700 cubic centimeters, significantly larger than that of Homo sapiens. 1,300 cubic centimeters for Homo sapiens, or 1,400 for Neanderthals. However, scientists emphasize that a large skull does not always indicate higher intellectual abilities. Instead, it could have been an adaptation to the conditions of the Ice Age, when the climate became cooler and harsher. Homo juliensis hunted wild horses, ate their meat, and used their hides to make clothing. They lived in small groups, which made them vulnerable to climate changes and other external threats. Interestingly, the dental structure of Homo juliensis is similar to that of the Denisovans, another hominin lineage that existed in the late Quaternary period, about 300,000 years ago. However, like many other ancient species, Homo juliensis likely disappeared due to the emergence of Homo sapiens, who genetically displaced the local populations in Europe and Asia. A discovery in a hard-to-reach cave. This bronze dagger with a bone handle is an artifact of the era, found in Malta in an almost inaccessible cave beneath the Dingley Cliffs. It dates back to approximately 2000 BC and belongs to the Borg in Nadur phase, when a developed Bronze Age culture existed in Malta. However, it is still unknown why the ancient inhabitants chose this remote cave to place their artifacts. Perhaps the place had special significance or ritual value. The dagger's handle is decorated with circular patterns, making it eye-catching and reminiscent of elements of Mycenaean Greek art, which may indicate cultural influence or trade connections. Interestingly, in the Bronze Age village where this dagger was found, shards of Mycenaean pottery were also discovered. Why was the dagger left in this cave? Was it part of a ritual or a symbol of special status? We can only guess. But every detail, from the green patina on the blade to the mysterious circles on the handle, makes us think about the life and worldview of ancient people, and possibly about connections with the Mycenaean Greeks.
Детоубийства или ритуалы.
The burial of infants in the homes of the Iberians who lived on the Iberian Peninsula during the Iron Age has long raised questions even among scholars. Various theories have been suggested, from infanticide to rituals. However, a recent study has helped clarify the nature of these burials. Researchers concluded that the infants died of natural causes. Most likely it was due to premature birth or complications during delivery, rather than as a result of ritual actions. This conclusion was reached through the analysis of children's teeth using advanced technologies such as microscopy and synchrotron radiation. The study examined the remains of 45 infants, and the methods of optical microscopy and microfluorescence helped determine the timing of birth and death with high accuracy. The key factor was the discovery of the neonatal line in the teeth, which forms around the time of birth. This data allowed scientists to prove that many infants died immediately after birth due to health conditions. The Iberians usually practiced cremation, so the discovery of uncremated newborns in living quarters previously caused controversy. A slab with Maya glyphs. Archaeologists from the National Institute of Anthropology and History discovered a huge stone panel carved at the bottom of a sacred pool in Choba, on the Yucatan Peninsula in the Mexican state of Quintana Roo. Choba, an ancient Maya city, flourished from 500 to 900 AD and reached a population of about 50,000 people. Recent excavations have revealed a monumental panel with 123 Maya glyphs carved at the bottom of a sacred pool near the Nohochmal Pyramid, which is 42 meters tall. The glyphs form an L-shaped figure covering an area of more than 11 square meters. Epigraphic studies have revealed the name of a previously unknown ruler of Choba, Chakcheyen, who took the name of the lightning god Kawil. The glyphs also mention the founding of the city of Quetzal in 569 AD and dynastic rulers such as Bolensakap Ahau. Currently, archaeologists are working on preserving the monument, which has been damaged by erosion, and are creating its 3D reconstruction for further research. The oldest calendar archaeologists made an amazing discovery at Göbekli Tepe, Turkey, finding the world's oldest calendar, which is 12,000 years old. This discovery has the potential to change our understanding of early civilizations, as it shows that as early as 10,000 BC people already knew how to measure time. This happened long before the rise of ancient Greece and other well-known cultures. The calendar is carved on a stone column and contains 365 marks, suggesting a 12-month calendar plus 11 extra days. At the top of the column, you can see symbols, including the letter V, and at the bottom, there are images of a bird with a round object and a scorpion. These images may symbolize the sun and zodiac signs. Research also points to a connection with a comet that caused a sharp cooling for 1,200 years. This event had a devastating impact on large animal species and may have caused significant changes in the region's ecosystem. Historians believe that such catastrophic events could have been a catalyst for the emergence of new religions and the development of agriculture, which in turn led to the formation of the first civilizations. Chinese Star Atlas. In 1907, a unique discovery was made in the caves of Dunhuang, China. A star atlas created in the mid-7th century. This ancient document is considered the oldest known astronomical chart. The atlas reflects the deep understanding Chinese astronomers had of the structure of the celestial sphere, which significantly surpassed the knowledge available in Europe at that time. The map from Dunhuang is striking in its accuracy. It contains images not only of major, but also smaller constellations, as well as faint stars that remained unnoticed on Western star maps for a long time. Unlike Western traditions, where stars were connected into mythological figures, Chinese astronomers used simple imaginary lines to group stars. This made it possible to maintain scientific rigor and avoid subjective interpretations. The atlas represents an important stage in the development of astronomy, showing how far the ancient Chinese had advanced in exploring the cosmos. It is possible that this map was used not only for astronomical observations, but also for predictions and navigation, which made it a tool of strategic importance. Some researchers believe that such precise knowledge of the starry sky could have been connected with observations of unusual objects in the sky. The legends of ancient China are full of references to celestial chariots and luminous phenomena, which gives reason to associate such star atlases with an interest in extraterrestrial phenomena.
Мавзолей имама Резы.
This is one of the most important religious complexes in the Islamic world and a center of pilgrimage for millions of Shiites. The architecture of the complex impresses with its grandeur and refined decorative work. Its magnificence reflects many centuries of Iranian history, during which the complex was repeatedly rebuilt and decorated. The mosaic work, mirror panels, and golden domes adorning the mausoleum create an atmosphere that transports visitors to another world, a world of spirituality and tranquility. Every millimeter of space seems to come alive with light reflected from thousands of mirror fragments, creating the illusion of infinity. The complex includes not only the mausoleum itself, but also mosques, libraries, museums, and religious schools. Valuable manuscripts, relics, and works of art are kept here, symbolizing Iran's rich cultural heritage. One of the most mystical religious features of the mausoleum is the ancient legend that prayers said here come true. Pilgrims from all over the world come to the tomb to ask for health, forgiveness, or a miracle.
Шлем в виде богомола.
In front of you is a samurai helmet from the Edo period, made in the 17th century in Japan. This helmet is unique and striking, decorated with the figure of a praying mantis, an insect that symbolized resilience, speed, and strength. In Japanese culture, the praying mantis is considered a symbol of vigilance and the ability to wait for the right moment to strike. These qualities were highly valued in the samurai tradition, which is why the image of the praying mantis on the helmet points to the ideal traits of a warrior. Helmets in this era were often decorated with elaborate and sometimes extravagant elements, emphasizing the individuality and social status of the warrior. This helmet was not just a means of protection, but also a form of self-expression that inspired fear in enemies. Crafted with great precision and adorned with golden elements, it reflects not only the strength, but also the aesthetic values of the samurai of the Edo period. Pharaoh Piopi, to Neferkare, who ruled Egypt during the 6th dynasty of the Old Kingdom, ascended the throne in 2278 BC when he was only 6 years old. The young ruler's guardian was his mother, who helped him govern the country during the early stages of his reign. Over time, Piopi proved to be quite an unusual person, as evidenced by his strange actions. One of the most famous examples is his demand that slaves cover themselves with honey, so that flies would be attracted to them and not bother the pharaoh himself. This invention may seem absurd, but it shows how Piopi tried to solve even the simplest inconveniences. Meanwhile, the fly in ancient Egypt became a symbol of resilience and bravery, and golden awards in the shape of flies were given to soldiers for exceptional merit. Such ornaments can essentially be considered the first medal of honor in history. There is also a preserved letter from Piopi II to Harkuf, the ruler of Aswan, who led an expedition to Nubia. In it, the pharaoh strongly requested that a dancing pygmy be brought to the court for entertainment. This letter gives us an idea of his interests and how Egyptian rulers used foreigners brought from abroad for court entertainment. The reign of Ptolemy II was one of the longest in history. He ruled for about 94 years and lived perhaps to the age of 100, becoming one of the most memorable pharaohs of ancient Egypt. Ritual table in Tavatepe. In Azerbaijan, a team of Italian and Azerbaijani archaeologists discovered a 3,500-year-old ritual table in the ancient settlement of Tavatepe. This site is located near the borders of Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. During the excavations, a round adobe structure was found. The structure includes a kitchen area and a ritual table. Between 1,500 and 750 BC, nomadic peoples probably used Tavatepe as a resting place before traveling through the mountains. Archaeologists also found a ritual table with 8 recesses and many ceramic containers, bowls, vessels made of black-fired ceramics, and long flat stones for mixing food. In the corner of the kitchen, a thick layer of ash and clay tokens with fingerprints have been preserved, which may have served as towel vouchers. At the entrance, there were originally wooden columns, and a thatched roof covered the entire complex, which was about 15 meters in diameter. Outside, animal bones and discarded ceramic vessels were found. Human figurines placed in sacrificial pits, and the fact that the structure was sealed along with all the vessels indicate its ceremonial nature.
Золотые языки и изображения богов.
Archaeologists from the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities discovered an amazing collection of artifacts during excavations at Tel el-Dir. This site enriched the history of Egypt with 63 mud brick tombs and other simple burials. The team discovered numerous artifacts, including items made of gold foil, depicting gods such as Isis, Bastet, and Horus, as well as protective symbols and tongue amulets that allowed the deceased to speak before the judgment of Osiris in the afterlife. These foil fragments stand out for their craftsmanship and variety of materials. Numerous burial gifts were also found: amulets, statuettes, ushabtis, figurines, coins, and a mirror, which illustrate the burial customs of the 26th dynasty. Among the finds was a ceramic vessel containing 38 bronze coins from the Ptolemaic era, depicting the head of Zeus Amon. These coins, dated to the end of the 3rd century BC, may have been buried during a major uprising against the Ptolemaic dynasty around 206 BC salt instead of money. On an ancient fresco found in Calakmul, a UNESCO World Heritage Site on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, the first documented case of salt trade among the Maya more than 2,500 years ago is depicted. On the fresco depicting everyday life, a salt seller shows a buyer a salt brick wrapped in leaves, while another person holds a large spoon over a basket, presumably containing loose salt. This is the earliest known depiction of salt being sold at a market in the Maya region. Salt, being a necessary biological element and a means of preserving food, was a valuable commodity among the Maya due to its limited availability. Salt bricks could be easily transported by canoe along the coast and up the rivers in southern Belize. In 2004, archaeologist Heather McKillop from Louisiana State University discovered the first remains of ancient salt kitchens, submerged and preserved in a saltwater mangrove lagoon in Belize. Since then, she and her team have explored 50 sites which make up a network of buildings and rooms known as the Paynes Creek Salt Works. McKillop's team discovered 4,042 wooden posts, a canoe, a paddle, a high-quality jadeite tool, stone tools for salting fish and meat, as well as hundreds of ceramic vessels. After studying the ceramic vessels used for evaporating brine, the researchers found that they were standardized in volume, which indicates the production of uniform salt units, possibly used as a means of exchange similar to money. Tutankhamun's sandals. This elegant pair of sandals was found in the famous tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun and is now part of the Egyptian collection. These sandals are not just footwear, but a true work of art and a symbolic detail reflecting the worldview of the ancient Egyptians. They are made of wood, and covered with intricate inlays made from bark, green leather, and gold foil. The images on the sandals depict Egypt's bound enemies, Nubians and Asians, symbolizing the pharaoh's triumph over his adversaries. The sandals were possibly used as part of ceremonial attire and held special significance. Imagine the pharaoh putting on such footwear, as if trampling his enemies, demonstrating his power and protection of Egypt. The inlay and detailing of the work are striking in their craftsmanship, testifying to the high level of skill of ancient Egyptian artisans. For the pharaoh, such items emphasized his status, his divine right to the throne, and his role as the protector of the nation. Cinderella's slipper. The story of Cinderella, one of the most beloved and well-known fairy tales, has deep roots that go back to ancient times. Many cultures have created their own versions of this fairy tale, from Greek to Chinese. However, the first European literary version, included in the collection Pentamerone by Giambattista Basile in 1634, tells an unusual version of this story. In the Italian fairy tale, the heroine Zizola is shown as not innocent at all. Her first stepmother dies by Zizola's own design, after which her place is taken by a cunning governess. But after marrying Zizola's father, she turns into an even more cruel stepmother, bringing 6 daughters with her who drive the heroine to despair. Ultimately, everything ends with a wedding to the king, though Zizola's journey is less than a fairy tale. Interestingly, in the Italian version, Cinderella doesn't lose a glass slipper, but rather a chopine, an unusual high-platform shoe. These accessories were popular in Europe in the 14th to 17th centuries, especially in Venice. Made from wood or cork, they could reach incredible heights, up to 50 centimeters and even higher. Chopines served not only to protect from dirt, but also as a symbol of status. The higher the platform, the higher the woman's position in society. This strange element of footwear perfectly reflects the spirit of the time and the social realities of the era. Venetian chopines, with their massive soles, were true works of art, often decorated with brocade, embroidery, or jewels. Perhaps Cinderella managed to attract the king's attention precisely because of such an unusual feature of her shoes, even though walking in them was not easy. Slug soup. In the 14th century, during the reign of French King Philippe VI, the physician Guido da Vigevano became famous for an unusual discovery. He found an antidote for aconite, one of the most dangerous poisons. Aconite is a perennial plant that contains powerful toxins, which affect the heart, muscles, and central nervous system. In the Middle Ages, its poison was widely used by Muslim warriors to poison the Crusaders. But how did a medieval doctor figure out how to create an antidote? One day, Guido noticed slugs calmly eating the leaves of the poisonous aconite without showing any signs of poisoning. He decided that since slugs were able to digest such a poison, they could help in creating a remedy. Inspired by this idea, he collected the slugs and boiled them, turning them into a strange medicinal mixture. Before using the remedy on people, Guido first tested it on animals and then decided to take the risk himself. For the experiment, he poisoned himself with aconite and then drank the slug soup. The brave act did not go without consequences. He vomited 3 times, but soon he felt better. This experience showed that the antidote works and became an example of the courage and perseverance of medieval scientists. Beer Quarry Cave. This Roman quarry was once a hideout for smugglers, and now rare species of bats live here. The beer stone quarried here was an important building material even in Roman times. 2,000 years of quarrying have created a winding system of caves near the village of Beer, which gave its name to this stone. The first Romans arriving in Devon noticed the limestone cliffs at the mouth of the River Exe. They discovered veins of fine-grained limestone and began to quarry it. When the surface deposits were exhausted, the Romans dug deeper into the rocks, extracting the stone with pickaxes and wooden wedges. This stone was used for the construction of important public buildings. The stone was transported to the river and sent by boat. After the Romans left, the quarries were used by the Saxons. Their workings were characterized by sharp, square corners, unlike the Romans' round ones. Beer stone was easy to work with, but it hardened in the air, becoming stronger. It was cut on site and used to build such buildings as Windsor Castle, London Bridge, and Westminster Abbey. The stone was also used in the construction of Christ Church Cathedral in St. Louis, USA. After the Protestant Reformation, Catholics held secret masses in these caves. In the early 19th century, smugglers, including Jack Rettenbury, used the caves to hide contraband brought in on sea-going vessels. Stone quarrying stopped in the early 20th century when a new site was discovered. Now these caves are of special scientific interest because of the rare bats. Perfume bottle. This small perfume bottle is a real artifact from the past that lay on the ocean floor for more than 160 years. It was found on board the ship Mary Celestia, which sank off the coast of the Bermuda Islands. Mary Celestia is a legendary ship. It served as a blockade runner during the American Civil War and carried cargo that was illegally delivered to southern ports. In 1864, the ship sank under unclear circumstances and has since rested at the bottom of the sea, hiding its secrets. On one of the artifacts, you can read the inscription PSN Lubin London. This is the name of a famous 19th century perfume company, renowned for its exquisite fragrances. This bottle has been remarkably well preserved. The glass was not damaged, and its contents still remind us of times long past. Even after more than a century and a half, the perfume has retained its scent, which became a real sensation for archaeologists and perfumers. This discovery gives us a rare chance to experience the scent of that era and to touch history through its fragrance. The shadows of those who perished after the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the United States of America in 1945. The survivors were struck by the eerie shadows on the streets and building walls, silhouettes of people, trees, bicycles, and other objects. These imprints became silent witnesses to the final fraction of a second before people perished. They resembled photographs more than shadows. As Dr. Michael Hartshorn from the University of New Mexico School of Medicine explained, this effect was caused by the intense light and heat released during the atomic bomb explosion. When a nuclear device detonates, an incredible amount of energy is released, spreading out in all directions at tremendous speed. Any object standing in the path of this energy creates a shield, protecting the space behind it. This area remains darkened because the surrounding surface is exposed to intense thermal effects and becomes discolored. As a result, a clear silhouette of the object is formed, as if imprinted on the surface. These shadows are a kind of deadly photograph, taken in an instant by the brightest light, capturing the last moments of people's lives.
Послание инопланетян.
Easter Island, lost in the southern part of the Pacific Ocean, became famous for its giant moai stone statues and mysterious tablets with Rongorongo script. These ancient tablets, covered with strange hieroglyphs, still remain one of the greatest archaeological mysteries. Scientists believe that Rongorongo is the script of the Rapa Nui civilization, which flourished on the island until the 18th century. The history of their discovery begins in 1864, when the French missionary Eugène Hérault first noticed wooden tablets covered with unusual signs. The tablets were made from Toramiro wood from a tree that grew on the island, and they could be found in almost every home. However, soon, most of these artifacts disappeared due to internal wars and destruction. About 25 tablets have survived, and their study has revealed a unique writing style that resembles an inverted boustrophodon. Such a way of recording signs was previously found only among the Incas. The tablets depict figures of animals, plants, and anthropomorphic beings. Scientists suggest that these symbols might have been used to record rituals and myths. Of particular interest is the similarity between Rongorongo and other ancient scripts. Some signs resemble the hieroglyphs of ancient Egypt, India, as well as the symbols of the Harappan civilization that flourished in the Indus Valley. Parallels have been noted between the scripts of the Kuna Indians in Central America and drawings on Sumatra, leading to theories about possible ancient connections across the ocean. Attempts to decipher Rongorongo continue to this day, but so far these writings have not been fully understood. One of the theories is that it describes rituals involving sacrifices to the gods. Another hypothesis, more fantastical, suggests an extraterrestrial origin for these symbols, hinting at contact with alien civilizations. Otherwise, how could people living on different continents in those distant times have similar writing systems, while we today, despite having countless connections through phones, satellites, and the internet, still speak different languages? The mystery of Rongorongo remains unsolved, but its study continues to inspire scientists and enthusiasts around the world. Twice as heavy as a whale, the prehistoric cow lived about 40 million years ago in the water. German paleontologists from the State Museum of Natural History in Stuttgart discovered its remains in southern Peru, where there was an ocean in prehistoric times. 13 vertebrae were found, each weighing about 100 kilograms, 4 ribs 1.5 meters long, and a giant femur. The excavation site was a shallow bay that split the equatorial part of the continent in half. Scientists determined that the remains belonged to a creature that lived about 40 million years ago. The creature weighed approximately 340 tons. This makes it the heaviest animal ever to exist on Earth. Even the giant brontosaurs were lighter. After studying the find, scientists concluded that these huge creatures swam slowly, made shallow dives, and fed on what they found on the bottom: algae, mollusks, and small fish. In their way of life, they resembled sea cows, which were exterminated by humans in the 18th century. In appearance, they most likely also resembled sea cows, although in reality they were ancient whales of the Basilosaurus genus. Giant hearse. Archaeologists have discovered a unique burial carriage in a barrow burial near the city of Dunfang in northern China. The fragments of the hearse that were found, which is about 7 meters long and more than 2 meters wide, date back to the Liao Dynasty era. Although part of the carriage was destroyed, many of the iron elements decorated with gold plating have been preserved in excellent condition. In the second tomb, archaeologists found more than 30 artifacts, including silver and copper ornaments, as well as gilded bells. These findings will help to study the unique burial rituals of the Khitan, the founders of the Liao state. Interestingly, some scholars believe that the Russian name for China comes from the Khitan people. The oldest shopping list. When going to the store, many of us make a list of the items we need on a piece of paper or in their phone's notes app. But it wasn't always like this. During excavations in southern Turkey, archaeologists discovered a unique clay tablet with Akkadian cuneiform, which turned out to be the oldest shopping list known to us. This document, created 3,500 years ago, gives us an idea of the daily life of people of that time. The tablet was discovered in the ruins of Alalak, which drew scholars' attention as early as the first half of the 20th century. But because of the war, the excavations were suspended and resumed only in the 2000s. Recently, after the 2023 earthquake, another clay tablet was discovered in Alalak during restoration work. It measures 4.2 by 3.5 centimeters and is 1.6 centimeter thick. Deciphering the inscription showed that this is a shopping list that includes wooden tables, chairs, and stools. The document also mentions the names of buyers and sellers, which makes it an important source for understanding trade and domestic relations in the 15th century BC. According to Turkish archaeologists, this is the oldest shopping list that has survived to this day, and it is of great value for studying the history of the ancient Near East. The oldest alphabet has been deciphered. Since 1964, archaeologists have discovered 15 tablets with mysterious carvings at the site of an ancient settlement in Jordan. A recent analysis showed that the tablets were probably created by the Canaanites, an ancient Semitic people who lived in the territory of modern Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, as well as parts of Jordan and Syria. Research has revealed that the tablets contain 29 unique symbols written from left to right. These symbols include dots, vertical lines, and abstract drawings. Scientists believe that the inscriptions represent cultic proverbs related to a religious temple. Some signs, such as a symbol resembling an eye, have been identified as ayin, which means eye in Hebrew. These parallels have helped to begin the decipherment. The Canaanites inhabited Canaan from 3,500 to 1,200 BC until they were conquered by the Israelite tribes. They are mentioned in the Old Testament. Interestingly, the Canaanite alphabet became the basis for the Phoenician script, which in turn influenced the Greek and Latin alphabets. The Hjortspring boat was found in the Hjortspring bog in Denmark and is the oldest plank-built vessel in northern Europe, dating back about 2,300 years. The boat is almost 20 meters long, weighs 530 kilograms, and could carry 24 people with weapons and equipment. The planks of the boat were made of linden, the oars from maple, and there were curved extensions at each end. This boat is an outstanding example of ancient shipbuilding, demonstrating the high level of craftsmanship and engineering knowledge of that time. Linden was chosen for its lightness and strength, which made the boat fast and maneuverable, and maple for the oars because of its hardness and durability. A piece of cake.
10 февраля.
In 1840, Queen Victoria married Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. At their wedding, an impressive cake weighing about 136 kilograms was served. The elegant treat was decorated with miniature figures of the bride and groom in Roman attire, as well as an exquisite entourage made from refined sugar, which at that time was truly a luxurious and rare product. Inside, the cake was generously soaked with alcohol and filled with lemon, elderberry, sugar, and dried fruits. However, there was a problem. Victoria was on a diet, and the guests didn't seem hungry enough to tackle a cake weighing more than 100 kilograms. Therefore, at the end of the celebration, the Queen ordered the cake to be cut into small pieces, which were then placed in tin boxes and given to friends, relatives, and other honored guests. This is how the tradition of giving guests pieces of the wedding cake was born, a tradition that, even at the royal court, took the form of a keepsake gift. Many of the recipients of these souvenirs decided not to eat them, since it was a valuable gift from the Queen herself. Some slices remained untouched and have been preserved to this day. Today, pieces of Victoria's wedding cake are true relics. Several of them are in the Royal Trust collection, and one of these pieces was sold at auction in 2016 for £1,500 sterling. If that seems like a hefty sum, then it's worth noting that in 1998, a piece of King Edward VIII and Wallis Simpson's wedding cake, dated 1937, was sold at a Sotheby's auction for $29,900. But what's surprising is that Victoria's wedding cake has remained edible to this day thanks to its high content. Theoretically, it could still be tasted today, although this will most likely remain just a legend. The trilingual cuneiform inscription before you is the inscription of Xerxes, the first one of the great Persian kings who ruled in the 5th century BC. This inscription is made on a smooth section of rock 20 meters above the ground, which makes it difficult to access and gives it a special grandeur. It is located near Lake Van in modern-day Turkey and is part of the ancient Van Fortress. The inscription is unique because it is written in 3 languages: Old Persian, Elamite, and Akkadian, which was typical for Persian kings who sought to demonstrate their power over many peoples. Xerxes I, known for his campaigns against the Greeks and mentioned in Greek history, used similar inscriptions to assert his power and greatness. Each symbol here was carved with great precision, and cuneiform was used to convey the official message. The height and complexity of the inscription's placement also indicate the power of the Persian king, and it was intended to be visible to everyone who passed by. The Band of Holes in Peru. In the Pisco Valley in Peru, there is a mysterious place known as the Band of Holes, or Monte Sierpe. It is a narrow strip of land, 14 to 20 meters wide and about 1,500 meters long, covered with thousands of shallow holes. Their exact purpose remains a mystery, although scientists have put forward many theories. The site first gained fame thanks to an aerial photograph by Robert Shippey, published in the 1930s in National Geographic. For a long time, archaeologists avoided Monte Sierpe. It was only in the 1950s that Victor von Hagen studied the pits and suggested that they were empty graves, estimating their total number at 5,000. Later, John Hyslop put forward the theory that the pits were used as storage facilities, similar to those found in other parts of Peru. Each hole is about a meter in diameter and up to a meter deep. They are made in different ways. Some are dug into embankments, others are surrounded by stone walls. Modern research, including a detailed map created with a drone in 2015, has shown that the strip of holes consists of 56,000 pits divided into blocks with unique patterns. Nearby are Inca roads and the remains of storage facilities, and the pottery found indicates an origin from the 15th century when the Incas conquered the Chincha people. Archaeologist Charles Stanish believes that the pits may have been used to measure agricultural tribute that local farmers gave to the rulers. Other scholars, such as Jean-Pierre Protzen, believe that the line of holes may be older. He believes that the pits may have been used to store fertilizers, such as excrement. To this day, the line of holes remains one of the most mysterious archaeological discoveries in Peru. Who created it, why, and how still remains a subject of debate and ongoing research. The Babylonian vision of the earth and beyond. The Babylonian map of the world, or Imago Mundi, is one of the oldest known maps created around the 8th century BC. The clay tablet depicts the ancient Babylonians' view of the earth. At the center of the map is Babylon, located on the Euphrates River. The map is surrounded by important geographical features: Susa, Urartu to the northeast, and Haban to the northwest. Outside this territory, there are triangular regions that, according to researchers, symbolize unknown lands or mountainous areas. The map is surrounded by a salty river called the Bitter River, which, according to them, flowed around the entire planet. The mythical inscriptions attract attention, mentioning the creation of land and sea by the god Marduk, which makes the map not only a geographical, but also a cosmological artifact. The connection with UFOs arises because of the triangular areas beyond the map. Some researchers believe that the ancient inhabitants of Babylon tried to depict unknown lands, which they associated with divine or extraterrestrial beings. The last one in. Researchers from the United Kingdom studied a crocodile mummy caught in ancient Egypt. In the stomach of the 2-meter predator, they found a fish with a hook, which turned out to be the cause of the reptile's death. The 23,000-year-old mummy is kept in the Mengem Museum and Art Gallery. In the times of the pharaohs, animals were often mummified, especially crocodiles, which were considered sacred. Using X-ray and computer scanning, scientists virtually extracted the hook and made a bronze replica. The scan showed that the crocodile had swallowed many small gastrolith stones during its life, which helped break down meat and regulate buoyancy. The last prey died before reaching the stomach and was not affected by digestive enzymes or gastroliths. Scientists believe that the crocodile was deliberately caught using live bait, after which it was mummified as an offering to the god Sebek. Fabric dyed by insects. Scientists studied fragments of dyed fabric found in the Skul Cave in Israel. These pieces of textile date back to the Middle Bronze Age. Scientists' research showed that the dye for the fabric was made from dried Mediterranean Kermes insects. Even in ancient times, people learned to make dyes from living creatures. In the Mediterranean, the most expensive dye was purple, obtained from the secretions of sea mollusk glands. Another valuable red dye was made from dried female scale insects, such as the Mediterranean Kermes, which lives on oak trees. Written evidence of the use of such dyes can be found in cuneiform texts from the Nutsi archive in the Old Testament. Archaeologists have also found Kermes in Neolithic vessels in France, although they were most likely used for magical or medicinal purposes. The earliest fragments of textiles dyed with Kermes come from ancient salt mines in Austria. Dating back to around 1400 BC, Kermes was also used to dye the legendary Pazyryk carpet in the Altai. They were part of the story of the crucifixion. In an ancient Georgian painting depicting the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, a mysterious object that resembles a UFO attracted attention. In the background behind the cross, there is an object drawn that looks like a giant button with legs. One character in the painting points at it with his hand, likely an intentional emphasis by the artist. The origin of the painting and the name of its author remain unknown, although it is believed that the image was created about 1,000 years ago, in the 11th century. The church where this painting is located dates back to an even earlier period, the 5th century, although the current building was constructed between 1010 and 1029. Some believe that this object could have represented guardian angels, although this contradicts the traditional depictions of angels from that era, who were usually shown with wings. Others suggest that the artist may have intentionally depicted something resembling flying saucers as part of a broader symbolism. It could be an allegory or an element of a religious myth that has not survived in modern interpretations. The painting continues to spark interest and debate, offering a unique perspective on the combination of religious art and unexplained symbols that still remain a mystery. A temple for the lion-headed goddess in Egypt, in the area of Athribis, an ancient temple carved into the rock was discovered. Its age is estimated to be about 2,100 years, and it dates back to the reign of Ptolemy VIII, who ruled from 170 to 116 BC. This ruler, known for his complex political and family history, left behind many monuments, and the new temple has become an important discovery. Bas-reliefs have been preserved on the walls of the temple, depicting Ptolemy VIII making offerings to the lion-headed goddess Ripit and her son Calantu. Ripit was the wife of the god Minra, who was associated with fertility. Archaeologists believe that the temple was built for this goddess, although its name remains unknown. During the excavation, scientists discovered a hall where temple utensils and amphorae were stored. At the entrance to the room, unique bas-reliefs depicting Ripit and Minra were found. Of particular interest is the depiction of Minra surrounded by deacons, which the ancient Egyptians used to navigate at night. These stars have human bodies combined with the heads of animals, such as a falcon and an ibis.
Младенцы в канализации.
In 1988, in Ashkelon in southern Israel, archaeologists made a shocking discovery. Under the baths, in a sewer dating back to the late Roman and early Byzantine period, the skeletons of about 100 newborns were discovered. Upon investigation, it became clear that the infants had lived less than 3 days. Their remains showed no signs of violence or trauma. Initially, scientists assumed that these were girls, since in many societies of that time there was a practice of getting rid of newborn females. However, further analysis showed that among these remains there were both boys and girls. One possible reason for the deaths of the infants could have been the activities of women working in the baths. It is likely that the children were abandoned by prostitutes who, being forced to live such a life, could not afford to take care of infants. The story from Ashkelon sheds light on the grim realities of the past, showing how horrifying those times were, when women had to get rid of their newborn children. The oldest wooden artifact. Archaeologists in Britain have discovered one of the oldest and best preserved wooden tools. This ancient wooden shovel-shaped tool, found in the marshy area near Poole Harbor, dates back to the Middle Bronze Age and is about 3,500 years old. Thanks to being submerged in water, the wood has been preserved in remarkable condition. Researchers determined that the shovel was carved from oak and required many hours of painstaking work, highlighting its significance to its prehistoric owner. Radiocarbon analysis showed an age of about 3,400 to 3,500 years, making this a unique find for Britain. The tool may have been used for working the land, harvesting peat, or even fishing, which were the main activities of the local inhabitants. According to scientists, during this period, people led a semi-seasonal lifestyle in the marshlands, using the area's resources during the warmer months and leaving it in winter when the land was flooded. The site where it was found was presumably used for drying peat or storing supplies. An extraordinary burial was excavated. In a female burial from the 6th century AD discovered in eastern Lincolnshire, England, archaeologists found a unique artifact, a Roman bowl dating back to the 1st century AD. This find, made during the excavations of the cemetery in Scremby, allows researchers to study the interaction between Anglo-Saxon and Roman cultures, as well as shed light on the burial customs of that time. The bowl, made of copper alloy, was found in the grave of a young woman designated as Sk18. In addition to the bowl, 2 brooches and bracelets were also found with the deceased. The placement of the artifact near the woman's head indicates its symbolic significance. The bowl, known as the Scremby Bowl, has been preserved in excellent condition. Its height is 5.7 centimeters and its volume is about 280 milli. Its decoration is done in the Roman style. Patterns of crescents and hearts, covered with red, aquamarine, and bluish-purple enamel, demonstrate the craftsmanship of Roman artisans. It is believed that the bowl was made in France and brought to England in the 3rd century. AD analysis of the inner surface of the bowl showed traces of unheated pork fat. This may indicate its use for ritual or medical purposes. At that time, fat was used to treat infections, which is consistent with Byzantine texts from that period. The uniqueness of the find also lies in the fact that the bowl has remained intact, unlike most Roman artifacts, which are usually found in fragments. The trial of animals. In medieval Europe, the practice of holding trials for animals was surprisingly common. In countries such as France, Switzerland, and Italy, animals were held accountable for crimes against people, God, and someone's property. Pigs, rats, grasshoppers, and sometimes even snails ended up in the dock. Such trials were divided into secular and ecclesiastical. In secular courts, animals were tried for attacking people, while ecclesiastical courts dealt with pests, such as locusts or rats that destroyed crops. Pests could be excommunicated from the church or banished from the territory. One of the most famous examples was the trial in Savigny, near the city of Paris, in 1457. At that time, a sow and her 6 piglets attacked a 5-year-old boy, and he died. The animals were caught, isolated in a pen, and brought to trial. After lengthy proceedings, the sow was found guilty and sentenced to death. The piglets were acquitted, as there was no evidence of their involvement in the attack. I think this could make a good plot for another Netflix series. They prop the door with a valuable artifact. Imagine a unique work of art created by a master over many years, serving as an ordinary doorstop in a barn. In 1930, the Council of Invergordon, Scotland, bought a marble bust of Sir John Gordon for just £5 sterling. The amount was negligible at that time. Back then, no one suspected that almost a century later, the bust would be valued at £2.5 million, and that the proceeds from its sale would bring up to £125,000 annually to the community's budget. This sculpture was created in 1728 by the French sculptor Edmé Bouchardon, known for his works for the gardens of the Palace of Versailles and the Fountain of the Four Seasons in Paris. His works have always been highly valued, and the bust sculpted in Rome has special historical and cultural significance. However, it was lost due to confusion in the local authorities' documentation, and for many years it was used as a doorstop in one of the sheds in Ballanterre, an industrial area near Invergordon. When the bust resurfaced, experts from Sotheby's valued it at £1 million. Clay theater ticket. In the ancient city of Prusias ad Hippium, located in the northwest of Turkey, archaeologists discovered a clay ticket from the Roman era, a statuette of Aphrodite, and the top of a sacred Thyrsus staff. This city, previously known as Hippios and Kyros, was renamed in honor of King Prusias Fine of Bithynia, who captured it in the 3rd century BC later. Under Roman rule, Prusiata flourished and became an important cultural center. Among the preserved structures of the city, the ancient amphitheater stands out in particular, which the locals call the 40 Steps. This semicircular structure, 100 meters long and 74 meters wide, is decorated with carved steps featuring a lion's claw ornament. Despite the earthquake, the theater has remained almost untouched. About 80% of the structures have already been uncovered, and the artifacts found are in excellent condition. Traces of cannibalism in Britain. In England, archaeologists have discovered the remains of 37 Bronze Age people, showing signs of cannibalism. The burial was found in a 15-meter deep shaft at Charterhouse, Warren. Analysis of more than 3,000 bones belonging to men, women, and children of various ages showed that all of them died violent deaths. The bones show traces of blunt force trauma, cuts from dismemberment, and even bite marks on the hands and feet. Scientists suggest that cannibalism was ritualistic in nature and may have been a way to humiliate the defeated. The burial also contained remains of cattle, which, according to researchers, symbolizes the mixing of human and animal remains to completely dehumanize the victims. This discovery shatters the idea of the peaceful nature of the early Bronze Age and demonstrates that mass violence, dismemberment, and dehumanization of enemies have been part of Britain's human history for thousands of years. The most mysterious people of Europe.
Археологи обнаружили
An altar from the Roman era in a monastery on Mount Ariaundi in northern Spain. It is dedicated to the mysterious deity Loraki. The find, dated to the 1st century AD, is important for studying the religious practices of the Vascones, one of the most mysterious peoples of Europe. This altar is one of 4 known altars of Loraki, but the only one found during excavations. The artifact was discovered at the bottom of a well in the Donestebi monastery. There is an inscription on the altar: Valeria Vitella, fulfilling her vow to Lauraki, is free and worthy. Mount Ariondi, inhabited since Roman times, is located in the valley of the Gulina River, not far from Pamplona. Its strategic location has made this place important throughout history, as evidenced by the remains of Roman infrastructure and a later monastery dedicated to Saint Stephen. Little is known about Lauraki, and worship of this deity is evidenced by only 3 other altars. The new discovery expands the known geographical spread of the cult of Lauraki. Medieval astronaut. In 1593, European and American magazines published sensational news. Among the stone carvings of the cathedral in Salamanca, Spain, an image of an astronaut was discovered. Construction of the cathedral began in 1513 and was completed in 1733. Journalists and readers actively discussed how people in the 18th century could have known about the existence of spacesuits. There were all sorts of theories, from the artist's foresight to an alien visit. However, enthusiasts were in for a surprise. The figure of the astronaut turned out to be just a prank. Among stone carvers in Europe, there is a tradition of adding new details during the restoration of buildings. In 1992, during the restoration of the cathedral, a stone carver named Geronimo Garcia, with unofficial permission from the church authorities, added several new figures to the facade, including the astronaut. This tradition brings historical buildings to life and adds a modern touch to them. The case in Salamanca reminds us that the past and present can intertwine in surprising ways, and restorers often leave their mark for future generations.
Жертвоприношение
In Shimao, an ancient fortified settlement from the Bronze Age, located along the Great Wall of China, archaeologists have discovered remarkable evidence of ancient rituals. Under the stepped pyramid located at the center of this settlement, 6 pits filled with skulls were found. In these ritual pits were the remains of about 80 young women, indicating human sacrifices. Sacrifices in ancient China were indeed a common ritual and were performed for various reasons. For example, as offerings to the river god Hebu, or as part of burial rituals, where slaves or concubines were sent to the afterlife along with their masters. However, the exact purpose of sacrificing girls from Shimao still remains a mystery for scholars. A small house with erotic frescoes. Archaeologists continue to amaze with their discoveries in Pompeii. Recently, they found a small house where ancient frescoes about 2,000 years old have been preserved. These images, striking in their detail and vivid colors, depict ancient myths and have suffered little damage over the centuries. One of the frescoes depicts a satyr, the deity of the forests, on a bed with a nymph, a scene reminiscent of myths where sensual and erotic themes were commonplace. Another fresco depicts the legendary story of Phaedra and Hippolytus. Phaedra, in love with her stepson, tried to seduce him, but after being rejected, she accused him of assault. Hippolytus was unjustly punished, and Poseidon sent a wave to take revenge on him. There is also another scene, Venus and her beloved Adonis. Venus, captivated by his beauty, descended from the heavens for him, but Adonis died while hunting. Then Pluto decided to let him leave the realm of the dead for half a year to calm Venus. This became a symbol of the seasonal renewal of nature. The frescoes were probably created shortly before the eruption of Vesuvius, which explains their excellent condition. At that time, eroticism in art was considered natural, especially when it came to gods and heroes. The only one on Earth, discovered in 2010 in the Mogok region of Myanmar, Kyauthuit, is possibly the rarest mineral on Earth. This reddish-orange crystal weighs only 1.61 carats.
0,3 грамм.
It was originally unnoticed by the miner who was hunting for sapphire. Only after analysis conducted by Dr. Kyauthu did the mineral receive its name, and in 2015 it was recognized as a new mineral by the International Mineralogical Association. Kyauthuit consists of bismuth antimony oxide. Despite the seemingly simple composition, its atomic structure is unique, which makes the mineral exceptional. Another unusual property is its high density, which is 8 times greater than the density of water. These characteristics, along with the rare geological conditions of its formation, make Kyauthuit a a real mystery for scientists. The mineral formed in pegmatite, an igneous rock created during the final stages of magma crystallization. Today, a unique specimen of Kiavtuit is kept at the Los Angeles County Museum of Natural History, where it is carefully preserved as a scientific treasure. Kiavtuit remains a unique testament to the geological processes that shaped the Earth millions of years ago. Although synthetic versions of the mineral are possible, natural Kiavtuit is of great value to science, helping us understand tectonic shifts and the evolution of minerals on our planet. Ancient floor made of bones. In the Dutch city of Alkmaar, archaeologists have discovered a unique find, a section of flooring made from animal bones. This rare discovery was made on Achterdam Street during building reconstruction work. A bone floor is truly rare, especially for the province of North Holland, although similar examples have already been found in other historic cities in the region, such as Hoorn, Enkhuizen, and Edam. Archaeologists found that the floor is partially made up of bones from the middle parts of the legs and feet of large cattle. The bones were carefully processed to achieve the same height and arranged in a pattern. Some were placed with the tips facing up, others with the flat cuts. They filled the gaps between the tiles of the old ceramic floor, creating a unique decorative pattern. The purpose of the bones in the floor's construction remains a mystery. Perhaps they were used because of their availability and low cost, or due to certain functions of the building. It is possible that specific activities related to meat trade or animal processing took place at this location, but the exact reasons have yet to be determined. Creepy customs in ancient Egypt. In ancient Egypt, women's bodies were often set aside for mummification at a later time after death. This was not done for religious reasons, but to reduce the risk of unwanted actions by the attendants. By delaying the embalming process, the ancient Egyptians tried to make the female body less attractive and thus prevent cases of necrophilia. Since in ancient Egypt great importance was attached to preserving the body for the afterlife, the preservation of the deceased was an extremely important task. In this regard, a measure was developed for women that was considered protective. This custom, although it may seem grim, demonstrates how important ethical and physical protection of the deceased's body was in Egypt for preserving honor and ensuring a peaceful transition to the afterlife. 120 pieces of jewelry in the buttocks. The stricter customs inspections become, the more inventive smugglers get. Recently, a man was detained at El Prat Airport in Catalonia who tried to smuggle an entire collection of jewelry inside himself. Hiding 121 pieces of jewelry in one of the most unexpected places, between his buttocks, he hoped to fly to Algeria without any trouble. Among the hidden items were earrings, bracelets, rings, medals, and crosses, a full assortment for a jewelry shop. Border guards grew suspicious due to the man's nervousness and one-way ticket. He was taken to a separate room for additional inspection, where an X-ray scan revealed a large amount of metal in his backside. When the contents were extracted, even the experienced customs officers were shocked. 8 bracelets, 23 chains, 17 medals, 7 crosses, 19 rings, 15 earrings, and 32 fragments of gold jewelry. The attempt to avoid customs declaration in this way failed. The man was detained and the gold was confiscated. Now the Spanish police are investigating the origin of the jewelry and the possible connections of the smuggler with a criminal group. Prehistoric petroglyphs in a unique place. In the Italian Alps on Mount Pizzo Tricero, amazing prehistoric petroglyphs have been discovered, recognized as the highest in Europe. These rock carvings were found in the summer of 2017 by a tourist, Tommaso Malinverno, who noticed strange carved figures on a rock at the foot of the Tricero Glacier in Stelvio National Park. Archaeologists have dated the petroglyphs to the Middle Bronze Age, which means they are about 3,600 to 3,200 years old. The uniqueness of these findings lies not only in their age, but also in their altitude of more than 3,000 meters above sea level. This suggests that people in those times were using high-altitude areas. The drawings include figures of people with their hands raised to the sky, a spiral, images of animals, and geometric patterns, the meaning of which is still unclear. In November 2024, another important discovery was made in the Lombardy region, where Stelvio Park is located. A 280 million year old fossilized ecosystem was found in the Arobi Park in Altilinese. This confirms that the region is truly a window into the past, uniting paleontological and archaeological heritage. Tutankhamun from Kazakhstan. In 1969, a burial containing golden armor was found in Kazakhstan, which became a symbol of the country. The scientists, fascinated by the 4,000 artifacts, forgot about the remains themselves. The golden armor of a 5th century BC warrior, known as the Golden Man, became a symbol of Kazakhstan's independence. He was found in the tomb of the Saka tribe near the settlement of Issyk, 60 kilometers east of Almaty. During the excavation, archaeologists discovered remains with gold-adorned armor and many other valuable artifacts. The burial, found by a farmer preparing the land for sowing, remained untouched despite the looting of the main tomb. In a sarcophagus made of spruce logs lay a skeleton adorned with 4,000 gold ornaments. This discovery amazed scientists so much that the human remains initially received less attention. The Golden Man, who is called the Tutankhamun of Kazakhstan, is believed to be an 18-year-old warrior of the Saka tribe, dressed in an outfit with 1,000 gold ornaments, including a shirt, boots, and a headdress. The outfit is decorated with animal motifs and a headdress 70 centimeters tall, featuring arrows, snow leopards, and mythical creatures. It was suggested that the remains might belong to a female priestess, referring to artifacts found nearby, such as a mirror and a necklace. In her book Warrior Women, she put forward the theory that the Golden Man could have been a woman. The poor condition of the bones after 50 years of exposure to bacteria and viruses makes analysis difficult, but the possibility that the Golden Man was a woman remains open. Regardless of gender, the craftsmanship of the costume is impressive. Greetings from the Neolithic. This magnificent artifact, a dagger with a bear's head, was found in the Pyhäjoki area of Finland and dates back to the Stone Age, around 42,000 BCE. Its exquisite design, made from striped stone, testifies to the high level of skill of ancient craftsmen. The bear's head on the dagger's handle is not only a decoration, but possibly symbolized strength, endurance, and spiritual guidance. In a cultural context, it could have been used in rituals related to hunting or the veneration of animals that were considered sacred spirit protectors. The bear in the mythology of ancient Finnish tribes was a highly revered creature, associated with the world of ancestors and nature spirits. There are no obvious signs of use on the blade, which may indicate its ceremonial significance. Such an artifact may have belonged to an important person in the community, for example, a chief or a shaman who used it for special rituals. The moon was created by extraterrestrial civilizations. The moon, our satellite, is full of mysteries that still intrigue scientists. Its size is 27.4% of the Earth's size, but its mass is only 1.2%. These proportions, along with data showing that the moon rings like a bell when struck by meteorites, suggest that it might be hollow. The depth of the craters is also surprising. Regardless of the size of the meteorites, it remains almost the same, from 3 to 4.5 kilometers, which may indicate the presence of a strong protective layer beneath the surface. The composition of the moon adds more intrigue. Processed metals such as brass have been found on its surface, as well as radioactive elements including uranium-236 and neptunium-237, which do not occur naturally. The moon is also disproportionately large for a satellite. It is 6 times bigger than any other moon relative to the size of its planet. Its unique stability without wobbling also sets it apart among celestial bodies. Mathematical coincidences further enhance the sense of artificiality. The distance to the Sun is 108 times its diameter, just as the distance to the moon is 108 times its size, and its perfect geometry allows it to completely cover the Sun during eclipses. Also, the moon always shows the same side to the Earth, which is unusual for satellites, and it stabilizes the Earth's axis, affecting the climate and biorhythms. These features lead us to assume that the moon is not just a natural object, but possibly the result of artificial intervention, leaving us with more questions than answers. Archaeologists in Saudi Arabia have excavated 8 ancient stone circles that served as dwellings for people more than 7,000 years ago. About 345 such structures have been identified using aerial photography in the lava field of Harat Uwairid near the city of Alula in northwestern Saudi Arabia. The stone circles have a diameter ranging from 4 to 8 meters and include at least one standing stone in the center. During the excavations, archaeologists discovered numerous stone tools made of basalt. From just 5 circles, almost 225 kilograms of stone tools, or their fragments, were recovered. Bones of sheep, goats, and cows were also found. Among the finds were various seashells from the Red Sea, located about 120 kilometers to the west. The round shape of houses was a global phenomenon in early architecture, and rectangular houses appeared later during the Neolithic period. The architecture of standing stone circles in Saudi Arabia is similar to structures found in Jordan, which date to about 500 years earlier. The people who built these structures also raised sheep, goats, and cattle.
Документ о конце света.
According to several sources, there is a secret document in the Vatican about the end of the world, containing prophecies about the fate of humanity. This document is said to describe key events of the 20th century, including world wars and global conflicts. Many are convinced that the prophecy not only explains the causes of past disasters, but also contains predictions for the future that concern the very structure of society and the dangers awaiting humanity. The document is allegedly kept in the Vatican Apostolic Archive, access to which is restricted to a limited circle of people. It is believed that the text is too grim and raises serious concerns, which is why the Church hides it from the general public to avoid provoking mass panic and to prevent destabilization. The claim that there is a prophecy about the end of the world is reinforced by stories about certain popes who, after becoming familiar with its contents, became gloomy and often spoke about the need to strengthen faith and unity in the face of future trials. Officially, the Vatican neither confirms nor denies the existence of the prophecy, but rumors about its contents have given rise to numerous theories related to global cataclysms, the fall of states, and even possible natural disasters. Some researchers suggest that the prophecy is connected to the so-called Third Secret of Fatima, which, according to believers, also speaks about the end of the world, but was only partially revealed. The mysterious document remains one of the most frightening and chilling secrets of the Vatican. Some might think it's just another legend, but let's think logically. Our history repeats itself and has certain patterns. The Vatican Archive holds a huge number of books from throughout our history. These books and manuscripts describe events from hundreds and even thousands of years ago. And if you study them, analyze them, and find those very patterns, then with a high degree of probability, you can predict future events quite accurately. So the existence of a document about the end of the world is more fact than legend.
Гибетинг или подвешивание в клетке.
One of the most brutal forms of punishment in history was gibbeting, hanging a criminal in an iron cage for public display. The condemned person was left hanging in the cage, where he slowly died from hunger, thirst, and exhausting conditions. This agonizing punishment took place in public and attracted crowds of onlookers, for whom the execution became a kind of grim spectacle. Sometimes the condemned person was hung up already dead, so that his remains would serve as a frightening reminder of the punishment for serious crimes. Gibbeting not only punished the criminal, but also aimed to instill fear and deter people from breaking the law. Such cages were often set up at crossroads or at the entrance to a city, so that anyone passing by could see what might await them if they dared to commit a crime. People who lived near places with these gruesome living corpses suffered from the unbearable smell and sight of decomposing bodies. This cruel practice became widespread in Europe and North America. Although gibbeting was abolished by the 19th century, it left a grim mark on the history of justice and became a symbol of extreme measures of punishment in the past. 2,000 kilometers to Antarctica. An international team of archaeologists and paleoecologists has confirmed the remarkable skills of Polynesian navigators who managed to reach the southern latitudes of the Pacific Ocean, although they never made it to Antarctica. Researchers on Enderby Island, located 500 kilometers south of Stewart Island, have shown that Polynesians sometimes briefly inhabited this remote territory. Remains of cultural layers and midden heaps were discovered on the island, confirming their presence. Using radiocarbon analysis, researchers were able to accurately date the settlement to around 1250 to 1320 AD, which coincides with the known period of colonization in eastern Polynesia. Professor Adel Anderson and Janet Wilmshurst, who led the research, noted that Enderby became the southernmost place of residence for ancient Polynesians. Further journeys to the south were almost impossible due to the cold ocean waters, lack of resources for boat repairs, and the risk of hypothermia. This data highlights that although the Polynesians were outstanding navigators, they still had limits in their expeditions. A matrix for making gold images from the central part of Falster Island, located in the southeast of Denmark. An enthusiast with a metal detector made an incredible discovery that could rewrite not only the history of the region, but also shed light on a little-known chapter of Danish history. Leonard Larsen, while walking in the rain searching for artifacts, heard a faint signal from his device. After digging up the ground, he discovered a small, unusual object, an ancient matrix for making golden images, which was presumably used in cult rituals to make offerings to the gods. According to archaeologists from the Lolland Falster Museum, this find may be connected to an ancient center of power or religious activity. The matrix, measuring only 2 centimeters, dates back to the period between 500 and 700 AD, before the beginning of the Viking Age. Such artifacts are incredibly rare. Only 28 similar matrices have been found in Scandinavia, and none south of the Baltic Sea. The matrix from Falster depicts a person in elaborate clothing, standing with their arms down and palms facing outward. This gesture is found in both pre-Christian and Christian cultures, and symbolizes either submission or revelation. The specifics of the depiction remain a mystery. It is still unknown whether the matrix depicts a man or a woman. It could be a figure of a king expressing devotion to a deity, or conversely, a god appearing to a person.
Таинственное украшение Альфреда.
In 1693 in Somerset County, someone accidentally came across an object that changed historians' perception of early medieval England. Under a layer of soil, a plow uncovered a unique artifact, a piece of jewelry belonging to Alfred, dating back to the 9th century. This discovery is remarkable for its craftsmanship. The item is made of gold, enamel, and quartz, decorated with an intricate pattern and the inscription, "Alfred ordered me to be made." The artifact is associated with the legendary King Alfred the Great, known as one of the most enlightened rulers of England. It is believed that the ornament could have been part of a scepter or a pointer used for reading sacred texts. This instrument symbolizes the union of power, wisdom, and Alfred's pursuit of enlightenment. The connection with UFOs and the mysteries of the past becomes interesting if you delve into the symbolism of the object. Some researchers suggest that the intricate design of the ornament and its shiny finish might have been inspired by the observation of unusual celestial phenomena. In those times, comets and lights in the sky were perceived as messages from the gods or even extraterrestrial civilizations. A giant military memorial. Archaeologists have discovered a 4,000-year-old memorial monument at the Banabazi site in Syria, resembling the ancient Egyptian step pyramid in Saqqara. This man-made mound, known as the White Monument because of the shine of its building materials, was first studied several decades ago. Recent research has shown that around 2400 BC, the previously existing mound was modified and supplemented with a series of horizontal steps, each of which contained at least 30 burials sealed with layers of plaster. Ancient Mesopotamian texts mention military memorials where the bodies of enemies were piled up, although such monuments have not yet been found. However, the White Monument at Tel Banat apparently served as a memorial for the burial of the settlement's residents, not for enemies fallen in battle. The discovery calls into question some traditional ideas about Near Eastern archaeology. The monument was comparable in size to the step pyramid of Djoser in Saqqara, but it was built not from stone, but from earth. The burials in the White Monument were carefully arranged according to ritual customs, along with military equipment, sometimes next to projectiles and animal hides. This fact indicates that the community tried to honor their warriors by creating a memorial in their honor. The Chinese tried an ancient drink. In ancient tombs in China's Shanxi province, a tightly sealed bronze vessel was found. Researchers discovered about 300 milliliters of liquid inside, which turned out to be the remains of a fermented alcoholic beverage about 2,300 years old. Two people who tasted this liquid noted its metallic taste. People learned to make fermented drinks back in ancient times. The earliest evidence of this was found in the Rakafet cave in Israel, where about 13,000 years ago, people made beer from grains. In the Neolithic era, alcoholic beverages began to be produced in the Middle East and China using millet and rice. In a bronze vessel measuring 30.5 centimeters in height and 21.5 centimeters in diameter, they found 300 milliliters of clear liquid, or more precisely, a fermented alcoholic beverage that was used as a funerary offering. Researchers discovered 4 types of starch granules in the liquid: millet, chemiza, and avliva, legumes, wheat, barley, and rice. In addition, they identified organisms involved in fermentation, including mold fungi of the Aspergillus genus and baker's yeast. According to the scientists, the drink resembled modern yellow wine, Huangju. The longest burial mound in Europe. Archaeologists in eastern Czechia have found the longest Neolithic burial mound in Europe, about 5,300 years old. The discovery was made in June during the roadwork in the Hradec Králové area. The burial mound near the village of Dogalis is about 190 meters long and up to 15 meters wide and belongs to the funnel beaker culture. Although the above-ground structure has been lost due to agricultural activity, archaeologists have excavated its entrance, identified by the preserved pit and ditch. Inside the burial mound, 2 central graves were found, probably belonging to important individuals, along with 28 additional graves. These burials will undergo further laboratory analysis for precise dating. The first central burial included a pit with drainage channels and post holes, as well as a ceramic vessel for offerings. The second burial did not have an internal structure, but the body was laid on its left side. Archaeologists also found burial items such as ceramic objects, flint arrowheads, and blades. These findings provide valuable information about the burial practices and cultural traditions of that time. Syphilitic zombies. The origin of syphilis remains controversial, and scientists propose 2 main theories. The Columbian theory claims that the disease was brought to Europe by the sailors of Christopher Columbus after returning from the New World in 1493. Another version, the pre-Columbian theory, is based on mentions of symptoms similar to syphilis in ancient Greek texts, which suggests its existence long before Columbus's expedition. The first recorded mention of a syphilis outbreak in Europe appeared in 1495 when French soldiers returned from the campaign against Naples. The disease spread rapidly and took on terrifying forms. Syphilis affects the skin and mucous membranes, leading to the formation of ulcers and tissue destruction. In later stages, those infected suffered such severe skin lesions that their faces and limbs became unrecognizable. The flesh literally decayed, and those infected looked like real living corpses. These syphilitic zombies wandered the streets, leaving a trail of decaying skin behind them. They were in unbearable pain and could barely walk. Their movements and appearance reminded us of modern zombies from horror movies. The disease not only destroyed them physically, but also isolated them from society, leaving them in loneliness and suffering. Persian windmills. These unique windmills are located in the city of Nashtifan in eastern Iran and are ancient structures that are almost 1,000 years old. They were built around the year 1000 and are among the earliest examples of wind energy use in the world. These mills differ from the familiar European models in their design. They have a vertical axis, which is ideal for the local climate conditions. The strong winds blowing in this region turn the wooden blades connected to a vertical shaft, which drives the mechanism for grinding grain. What is especially impressive is that these mills are still in working condition today. They are made from natural materials such as wood, clay, and reed, which not only highlight the craftsmanship of ancient Persian builders, but also ensure the durability of the structure for centuries. These mills not only served their practical purpose, but also became a symbol of the resilience and ingenuity of ancient engineers. Today, they are an important part of the cultural heritage, reminding us of how ancient civilizations were able to harness natural forces with minimal impact on the environment. The Nashtifan mills are a living testament to the technical genius of the ancient Persians. continuing to operate after thousands of years. 100 Iron Age artifacts. Archaeologists in Denmark have made an incredible discovery. More than 100 types of weapons, including spears, swords, knives, and rare chainmail armor. All this was found beneath the house of an Iron Age chieftain. The collection is about 1,500 years old and may have been a ritual offering after a military victory. The weapons were found under two 5th century houses, which probably belonged to an influential chieftain capable of raising an army. Among the items are 119 spears, 8 swords, 5 knives and axe, and a chainmail shirt that is believed to have belonged to the chieftain himself. Such armor was expensive and difficult to make, which highlights its importance. In addition to weapons, archaeologists discovered bronze neck rings, known as oath rings, which were symbols of power in the Iron Age. Fragments of harness, a bronze horn, and other metal objects that still need to be studied were also found. In the 1st to 4th centuries, Denmark was on the outskirts of the Roman Empire and was part of Greater Germania. The local inhabitants were mostly farmers, but Romans such as Julius Caesar mentioned the fierce Germanic wars. Some scholars suggest that the Romans might have supplied local tribes with weapons to maintain order on the borders. A silver amulet. In Germany near Frankfurt, archaeologists discovered a unique artifact, a silver amulet known as the Frankfurt silver inscription. This is the oldest evidence of Christianity north of the Alps, dating to around 230–270 AD. The discovery significantly expands our understanding of the spread of Christianity in the Roman Empire. The amulet was found at the Roman cemetery in the Heilmannstrasse area in the ancient city of Nida. Among the 127 burials, special attention was drawn to the grave of a man aged 30 to 45 years. Along with unusual burial gifts such as ceramics and an incense burner, a rolled-up piece of silver foil was found under his chin. Analysis showed that it was a phylactery. The amulet is intended to protect its wearer. The contents of the inscription, applied to the silver, were deciphered using computed tomography. The text in Latin consists of 18 lines and contains exclusively Christian formulas: holy, 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 and in the name of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. It also includes quotes from the Epistle to the Philippians by the Apostle Paul. This finding proves that Christianity spread in the region several decades earlier than previously thought. Nida, as a major Roman cultural and administrative center, became a place where the new religion was able to take root in a multicultural environment. The dental prostheses of the first president of the United States. The widespread myth that George Washington's dentures were made of wood is actually not true. His dentures were made from various materials, including teeth taken from his slaves, as well as hippopotamus ivory and metals such as gold and lead. This fact was often hidden or distorted in historical sources, probably due to the ethical aspects related to the use of slaves' teeth. Washington suffered from serious dental problems throughout his life, and his personal records show that he bought teeth from slaves to use in his dentures. Such a practice in the 18th century, although common, still casts a dark shadow over the image of the first president of the United States. These dentures, with their gruesome composition and uncomfortable fit, imposed significant limitations on Washington, and he experienced constant discomfort, which can be seen in his facial expression in many portraits. A 4,000-year-old package staff at the National Museum of Ireland received a unique artifact from the Bronze Age. An anonymous sender mailed 2 axes that are over 4,000 years old. Experts noted that the axes were carefully packed in a box with foam padding. The sender also included a letter stating that the axes were found using a metal detector in the Westmeath area. The museum contacted the sender requesting more information about the find, especially the exact location of the discovery, in order to understand the historical context. The axes date to between 2150 and 2000 BC, which coincides with the beginning of the Bronze Age. They may be among the first metal axes in Ireland, made of copper, possibly mined on Ross Island. The object itself is valuable, but the context is also important. Artifacts were often buried in places associated with rituals. The museum hopes that the sender will get in touch to provide additional information. Ancient human fingerprints. Archaeologists have discovered an astonishing Iron Age statue with well-preserved fingerprints of its creator, offering a glimpse into the lives of our ancestors more than 3,000 years ago. This ancient clay figure, dating back to the 9th or 10th century BC, was found at the bottom of a lake in Italy and, according to experts, has ritual significance. The discovery was made in Lake Bolsena, a volcanic lake, where archaeologists found a clay sculpture resembling a female figure, about the size of a palm. Usually such figures are found in burial sites, but this one was discovered in an area that was once a residential zone of a submerged settlement. The team from the Underwater Archaeology Service and the Italian Cultural Heritage Restoration Group, together with state divers, played a key role in preserving and recovering this artifact. Researchers note that the statue is so well preserved that the fingerprints of the master who created it are visible on it. This suggests that the sculpture may have been a trial version rather than a finished work. This discovery also sheds light on the ancient Italian settlement of Aiola, which scientists believe existed during the Iron Age. The Gran Caro di Bolsena region, where the discovery was made, is associated with volcanic activity and has a rich history, the study of which began only in 1991 when researchers discovered a cluster of unworked stones, presumably belonging to the early Iron Age. A treasure from the seabed. Archaeologists discovered 2 sunken ships from the Ming Dynasty in the South China Sea, which had lain on the bottom for almost 500 years. More than 900 unique artifacts were found on these ships, ranging from copper coins to exquisite porcelain. The Ming Dynasty is known for its artistic achievements and active trade. Chinese ships sailed to India and Europe, where blue and white porcelain was extremely popular. Some ships ended their journey at the bottom of the sea, leaving behind time capsules. In 2022, 2 merchant ships were found at a depth of almost 1.5 kilometers and about 22 kilometers apart from each other. In 2023, researchers began studying and collecting artifacts. Underwater vehicles were used to retrieve items, and cameras and lasers were used to create 3D maps. From the first ship, 890 items were recovered, including copper coins and porcelain. From the second, 38 artifacts such as deer antlers and ceramics. The ships may have sailed from Jingdezhen, the center of porcelain export. The items found are vivid examples of art from the Ming era. The ships have become important witnesses to trade and cultural exchanges along the maritime Silk Road.
Малый ледниковый период.
Genghis Khan, known for his brutality and for creating one of the largest empires in history, unexpectedly influenced the planet's climate. The military campaign of the Mongol leader led to the killing of huge numbers of people and the devastation of vast territories. As a result, when these lands were left without people, forests began to actively recover and once again cover vast territories. The regenerated forests began to absorb a significant amount of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which led to a temporary cooling of the climate, the so-called Little Ice Age effect. In essence, the actions of Genghis Khan indirectly contributed to the reduction of CO2 levels in the atmosphere. Although his goal was clearly not to improve the environment, the impact of his conquests on nature turned out to be unexpected, and he inadvertently became one of the first historical climate heroes. This story is a rare case when tragic historical events had a positive impact on the climate of our planet. Mysterious tablets. This golden tablet is one of many unique discoveries made by Serbian archaeologists in the ancient city of Viminacium, located in what is now Serbia. Viminacium was an important Roman city and military camp that flourished in the 1st to 4th centuries AD. However, the artifacts discovered, such as these tablets, indicate the existence of much older and more mysterious customs here. Strange symbols are engraved on the tablets, unlike the familiar Latin or Greek letters, and their meaning remains a mystery to researchers. These signs could have been part of an unknown language, a code, or magical symbols that were used in religious rituals. Since the tablets are made of precious metals such as gold and silver, it can be assumed that they held special significance for those who created them. Perhaps they were amulets or talismans that protected the owner or brought good luck. Despite all the efforts of archaeologists, the mysterious symbols have not yet been deciphered, and they remain one of the greatest mysteries of Viminacium. Ancient means of payment.
Бронзовая монета.
Attributed to Pontius Pilate, the prefect of Judea, was minted between 26 and 36 AD during the reign of the Roman Emperor Tiberius. This small artifact is a vivid symbol of the power and influence of the Roman Empire in the territory of ancient Judea. Coins from this period reflect not only economic activity, but also the political and religious aspects of the era. On the obverse side of the coin, there was usually an image of a cult object associated with Roman gods, which emphasized Rome's desire to impose its culture. However, this caused conflicts with the local Jewish population, for whom images associated with pagan beliefs could be considered blasphemous. On the reverse side of the coin, symbols such as the cornucopia, or drums, were often depicted, symbolizing prosperity and control. The inscriptions on the coin mention Tiberius, reinforcing his authority as a ruler. An ancient Roman supermarket in the ocean. Archaeologists have discovered an ancient Roman supermarket on the Channel Islands off the coast of France, where various goods were traded. Research that began in 2008 led to the discovery of 2 Roman coins, indicating this finding. One coin depicts Caesar as a teenager, and the other shows an emperor who was killed by invading Goths. Alderney Island, the northernmost of the Channel Islands, may have served as a trading post for the Romans. Archaeologist Jason Monaghan noted that remains of Roman structures have been found here, including a grotto which indicates a permanent Roman presence. They could have monitored ships bringing goods from the Mediterranean to France. Archaeologists believe that Roman soldiers lived on the island, controlling trade routes and protecting them from pirates. It's possible that soldiers' families and Roman officials also lived here. In 2017, using special equipment, Iron Age burials and parts of a Roman building were discovered on the island, confirming long-term settlement. Excavations showed that the Roman-era building had 3 rooms, a courtyard, a paved area, and a garbage dump, where one of the Antoninianus coins was found, dated to 255 AD and equivalent to 2 denarii. In another layer of the building, a bronze coin of the Roman co-emperor Valens was found, dated to 364-367 AD, who was killed in the Battle of Adrianople. Remains of a Roman fort were discovered about 27 meters from the building. Archaeologists believe that many more buildings from the Roman era may be hidden under the sand dunes, creating a mini Pompeii effect. A creepy social experiment in Britain. In the 1960s, there was a shocking practice in Germany of placing orphans and homeless children in the care of people with pedophilic tendencies. This happened as part of an endorsed theory that such adults would show special care and attention to children. It was assumed that these people's desire for close relationships would help create a warm and caring environment for the children. This practice, known as the Kentler experiment, was initiated by psychologist Helmut Kentler and was mainly implemented in West Berlin. Kentler claimed that children in these families received more emotional support and care. The experiment was a government initiative and continued for decades, despite numerous signs of harm to the children. Only many years later did this program face serious criticism, and the victims began to receive compensation. A diver found an extremely rare treasure. Back in 1715, 11 ships left the port of Cuba and headed to Europe with treasures. However, a hurricane off the east coast of Florida sank the ships, and 1,500 sailors died. Gitschlag, his business partner Mike Penninger, as well as Nika Milio and Karina Leah, discovered more than 200 silver coins on the seafloor. The value of the find, depending on the condition of the coins, can range from $12,000 to $130,000. When exploring sunken ships, the team often finds ceramic and metal fragments, but coins are a real rarity. Silver coins can become corroded after hundreds of years in the water, but piastres are easy to recognize. The treasures were found among the wreckage of one of the 2 flagships. Gitschlag believes that the coins may have been minted in Mexico City, and the hoard has not yet been appraised, but most of it will go to a museum, and only a small part will be put up for sale. 38 headless skeletons. This discovery stunned archaeologists. In the Neolithic settlement of Rabel in Slovakia, they found a mass grave with 38 decapitated skeletons. This discovery made by German and Slovak scientists raised many questions about the causes of such deaths and possible ritual practices in ancient times. The find belongs to the linear pottery culture, which existed around
5,250 to 4,950
years BC. In this settlement, there were 3 villages with about 313 houses, where up to 600 people lived at its peak. However, the remains found in a pit outside the settlement are arranged chaotically. The skeletons are mixed together, some lying on top of each other, and all except for one child were decapitated. This makes the discovery even more mysterious and makes one wonder about ancient rituals or conflicts. The project leader, Dr. Maria Wunderlich, suggests that this could have been a ritual sacrifice or the result of conflicts between communities. It is possible that there were special rituals related to death in this region, or even a cult where beheading had symbolic meaning. To better understand who these people were, the team is conducting DNA analysis, radiocarbon dating, and isotope analysis. This will help determine whether they were related, belonged to the same community, or came from other places. Archaeologists from Guard Archaeology have found a Bronze Age hoard in Rosemarkie. The hoard, dated to around 1000 BC, was discovered in a prehistoric settlement with 6 roundhouses and a bronze tomb. A wooden palisade that protected the settlement was also found at the excavation site. Laboratory studies showed that the hoard consists of 6 penannular bracelets, 1 bracelet with cup-shaped ends, 1 complete neck ring, 1 partial neck ring, and polyethylene plant fibers. It is amazing that the plant cords that tied the bracelets together were preserved thanks to the antimicrobial properties of the copper in the bronze. The cords remained intact for about 3,000 years. Incredible luck. A farmer from the Indian town of Pani, Dilip Mistry, found a diamond weighing 16.1 carats in a private mine, which was valued at more than $70,000. Mistry, together with 3 companions, hoped to find precious stones but did not expect such luck. Local gemstone expert Anupam Singh confirmed the authenticity of the find, and now the diamond will be sold at auction. Of the proceeds, 12.5% will have to be given to the state as royalty, and the remaining money will be divided among the 4 prospectors. In the videos posted online, you can see Dilip proudly displaying the sparkling diamond and then handing it over to the district officer. Mistry stated that he plans to use his share of the money to improve his family's financial situation. Notably, this is not the first time a farmer has found diamonds. Previously, he and his partners had already found precious stones, although Mistry never said how much they were worth. America is waiting for the little men from Saturn. America is once again gripped by excitement, this time because of unidentified flying drones. The situation is reminiscent of past waves of mass interest, from flying saucers to Chinese weather balloons. It seems this trend repeats itself over and over again, fueled by new details and conspiracy theories. Amidst the many videos circulating online, some of the drones look more like a product of computer graphics. Special effects added in After Effects are easy to spot for someone who is at least a little familiar with video editing. However, this doesn't stop the videos from sparking heated discussions, since viewers tend to believe what they see. The Biden administration claims that these are civilian commercial drones, while Donald Trump urges the government to shoot down any unidentified objects and reveal the whole truth. A characteristic of the American mentality is a love for conspiracy theories. Drones, just like flying saucers in the past, immediately become the subject of speculation. They are already sparking talk about alien intelligence agencies, agents from Saturn, or even preparations for the inauguration of a hypothetical alien leader. Some people recall the black helicopters that supposedly abducted people on the orders of reptilians. And now there's alarm again, this time because of drones. It's interesting that the excitement around unidentified objects arises with remarkable regularity. Remember the Chinese balloons that flew over the US for a long time before they were suddenly noticed. Back then, society was gripped by panic, which, however, quickly subsided. Perhaps this new wave of drone fever will soon die down as well, or maybe we really are on the verge of a new chapter in the history of strange phenomena. But for now, it seems that the world is simply entertaining itself with new mystical theories to distract from more pressing problems. 9 commandments out of 10. The oldest known stone tablet with 9 out of 10 commandments carved on it is being prepared for auction. Experts suggest that the price could reach $12 million. The marble tablet dates back to between 300 and 500 AD and was discovered in 1913 during the construction of a railway. On the southern coast of modern Israel, near the sites where early synagogues, mosques, and churches were located, the marble tablet, about 2 feet tall and weighing 115 pounds, contains 20 lines of text in Paleo-Hebrew. It first appeared on the market in 2016 and was sold for $850,000. For a long time after its discovery, the importance of the tablet remained unclear. At one point, it was even used as a tile at the entrance to a house, which caused some of the letters to be worn away. In 1943, archaeologist U. Kaplan acquired the tablet and identified it as a Samaritan Decalogue created by the Samaritans, an ancient religious group whose beliefs were based on the Old Testament but differed from Judaism. The text on the tablet almost completely matches the biblical commandments familiar to both Christians and Jews. However, one of the commandments, "Do not take the name of the Lord in vain," is missing. Instead, there is an instruction to worship on Mount Gerizim, which reflects the religious beliefs of the Samaritans. Urine for cleaning teeth. The Romans were inventive and found the most unexpected ways to use available resources. For example, urine was widely used in everyday life due to its high ammonia content, which had whitening and cleaning properties. It was used as a cleaning agent for laundry. In Roman laundries, specially trained workers soaked clothes, especially togas, in vats of settled urine and then stomped on them with their feet. After this treatment, the fabric was rinsed in water with added ash or clay, which helped remove any remaining grease. In addition, urine was used in leather production as well as in agriculture. It was used to fertilize the soil so that pomegranates and other plants would grow healthier and stronger. Sometimes it was also used to treat livestock, such as sheep, by pouring urine down their throats. One of the most unusual uses of urine in Rome was for dental care. Some Romans believed that rinsing the mouth made their teeth whiter. Ammonia really does have a whitening effect, but the idea of using urine for hygiene purposes is still surprising today. The Roman poet Catullus ironically mentions a certain Ignatius in his poems, who was proud of his dazzling white smile, which he got thanks to very frequent mouth rinsing. Ancient calendar. In the photo are mysterious artifacts from the ancient Menadra temple in Malta, which is over 6,000 years old. This temple, located in the Crindi area, is one of the oldest religious structures in the world. On the megalithic stone found here, we can see intricate patterns that are believed to have been used to track the equinoxes. How did people of that era, without modern tools, manage to track the movement of the sun and mark key moments of the year? This question remains a mystery for archaeologists and historians. The Menadra Temple is under UNESCO protection and is one of the few archaeological sites in Malta that is protected by a special tent. At first, this may seem excessive, as the white tent disrupts the visual integrity of the site. However, upon closer inspection, it becomes clear that this protection is necessary. Without it, the detailed carvings would gradually be destroyed by wind and rain. The Great Comet of 1861. The 19th century became a special time for those who loved to gaze at the stars. During this period, from 1811 to 1882, people observed as many as 8 great comets, which amazed both scientists and ordinary people alike. These celestial events inspired artists, composers, and even amateur astronomers. Among all these comets, Donati's Comet of 1858 holds a special place. It was the first comet to be photographed. But an even more astonishing event was the appearance of the Great Comet of 1861. It came so close to Earth that our planet literally passed through its tail. For 2 days, this tail blocked the sunlight, creating an unusual twilight even during the daytime. The comet was discovered by a farmer from Australia, John Tebbutt. This young amateur astronomer noticed it in the constellation Eridanus on May 13, 1861. At first, he thought it was a star, but later realized it was a comet. After confirming his discovery, Tebbutt sent a letter to the local observatory and even published an article in the Sydney Morning Herald newspaper. The news about the discovery of the comet quickly spread around the world. By June 1861, the comet was already being observed in the northern hemisphere. Newspapers in England reported on its astonishing brightness and size. The comet's tail occupied a huge part of the sky and was visible even against the daylight. The real sensation was that the Earth crossed the comet's tail, which caused rare atmospheric phenomena. The sky was colored in yellow and reddish shades, and the sunlight became unusually weak. The magnificence of the comet impressed contemporaries, and for John Tebbutt, its discovery marked the beginning of a brilliant career. Later, he built his own observatory and made many valuable observations. His contribution to astronomy is immortalized on the Australian $100 bill, and the Great Comet of 1861 still remains one of the brightest phenomena in the history of astronomical observation. Ancient Slavic cemetery in Germany. Archaeologists from Saxony-Anhalt, Germany, made an important discovery by finding a medieval Slavic settlement and cemetery near Wettin-Leobejen. These discoveries were made during preparations for the construction of the underground power line Südostlink. The excavations revealed a settlement covering 1.2 acres, dating back to the migration period in the early Middle Ages. The settlement went through 2 stages. In the early stage, it was fortified with a 4-meter wide ditch, and later, individual homesteads with half-meter ditches were identified. Among the artifacts, a pearl and a bronze bracelet were found. An important part of the settlement was the craft quarter, where bog iron ore was extracted and textile production took place. 2 wells were also discovered, providing the settlement with water. A cemetery with about 60 graves from the 10th and 11th centuries, arranged in 2 rows, was excavated near the settlement. Most of the burials were carried out according to Christian traditions, with the bodies oriented to the east. Among the finds, a family grave and the burial of a child with hydrocephalus stand out, which indicates the care of the community. Thousands will disappear. A cartridge was installed here by the settlement. There was a cartridge with the nickname Darkness Time Travel. A cartridge was installed on the territory with the nickname Darkness Time Travel cartridge, which is a cartridge installed on the territory Darkness Time cartridge, installed on the cartridge, installed on the territory with the nickname Darkness Time with the nickname. His account on one of the popular platforms has already gained more than 150,000 subscribers. And one of the videos about predictions has already gathered over 1 million views. Such a statement not only arouses interest, but also raises many questions, especially among those who are passionate about history and archaeology. A real-time traveler, listen carefully, he claims in his video. Among his predictions is a plane crash in the United States on December 13 in the western part of Wisconsin, where supposedly half of the passengers will survive. In 2025, according to him, a record number of UFOs will be spotted in the United States, and on October 19th, a glowing cloud will cover the top of the Eiffel Tower, causing a wave of discussion around the world. But the most mysterious event will be the activation of the Bermuda Triangle. Starting from September 28, ships and planes will begin to disappear en masse there, taking thousands of people with them. Another unusual prediction concerns March 21, 2026. The user claims that an underwater structure will be discovered off the coast of Brazil, which will surprise even archaeologists. Strange fish previously unknown to science will gather around it, and the structure itself may become the key to understanding the mysteries of the ancient world, and possibly even a connection with extraterrestrial civilizations. These claims spark heated debates, especially among anomaly researchers and archaeology enthusiasts. If the discovered structure truly turns out to be an ancient artifact capable of changing our understanding of history, it could become one of the most sensational finds of the century. The most astonishing and ambitious prediction for the future sounds like a utopian dream. They say that at the end of 2026, an era of harmony and happiness will begin on Earth. It's as if humanity will find itself in a paradise. This period will last for several years, during which all wars will end, and people will forget old grievances and quarrels. Envy and malice will disappear, giving way to kindness and mutual understanding. But it is this tranquility that will become the catalyst for grand changes. A world that has calmed its turmoil will soon face the consequences of such a sudden transition. What seemed like an ideal will mark the beginning of a new stage in human history. Global changes will inevitably lead to chaos, which will determine the future path of civilization. Perhaps this paradox will become the greatest mystery of the future, how an era of peace can give rise to a new wave of upheavals. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it deserved a like. Write what you think about these findings and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone. To be continued.